of my journey with making a Python add-on for Blender. I know I kind of sound out of it, but yeah, this is it. This is my progress so far. So there are some things that are hard-coded in, like I'm finding a period to note that if it's a duplicate in here in Blender, and I'm writing the file, but I'm subtracting these 4 digits, these last 4 characters here. So what that entails is that there's pretty much only support for 1,000 objects of the same type in the game. And at the end of this devlog, I'll show you that. But right now, I'm just going to get through this line by line. And then obviously if it doesn't, it's just going to write the name as usual. So in most cases, this is only going to run once. This is going to run, well, the if statement's going to run every time, but this half, the else is only going to run once, at least, object you make in here. This is going to run 1,000 times every time you make another duplicate of the same object. And then here, I actually had it use this ID here as a property tag. And the way you actually write that is object.data, and then you just pass in the little ID thing here. But I found out that these kind of keep the same ID tag through all of them for whatever reason. So I'm just going to start getting rid of that between all objects. Oh wait, no, that's not. It is down from here. We'll keep the properties. Okay, that's weird. I don't know why I gave the level an ID, but the level does need a properties tag, or not tag, just a property. Because I'm still in that Roblox mindset, and properties are all of these, all data about everything. These are properties. And what you would see down here is pretty much what a tag is. No, that's an attribute, but no, these are attributes here, which I'm not using. Again, I'm gonna delete what I don't need here. Bridges, these are static objects, so they don't use properties for the most part. Was it? Yeah, so I would parse it as this, which would go down here and it'd check to see if there's an ID. If it's not, it's gonna throw an error. See, ID not found. And it's gonna throw that for every object that doesn't have an ID. I'll just put ID again one more time. I'm just gonna write ID so you know what I'm talking about. Just gonna add a maximum of 2. Well, this is gonna be ID 2, and then so on and so forth, because now I can actually show you what this looks like. All of this here, I end up compiling it. Now as we compile, it needs me to select objects, so that's what I'm gonna do for this level editor in mind. I might update that, but I'm not sure. I might just make it get everything in the level here, in this scene here, and get everything that way. It'd be a lot easier that way. So right now, things have to stay as they are. This has to be named level. You will have a bridge object and a few other objects, a bunch of other objects, but I'll put it in a separate scene called reference, and I'll lay them all out as like a kit bash sort of thing. I need models for this if I'm going to lay them out properly as a kit bash, and then you can just copy them from references into level here and place them wherever you want to. Right now, this is how it has to be, so they have to have their names as names. Doesn't matter if there's a 0 after it, or 0.00 whatever after it, because it will get taken down in a compilation. And then so we delete duplicate names, and then we go down here, we grab the ID, although I'm gonna keep this just to show you what it looks like. And then down here we actually grab these rotations here. Now this is a funny thing. Look, here's I'm rotating on the Z. I just rotated 90 on the Z, but we ended up rotating 90 more on the. I'm gonna teach you how to go through that later, because eventually I'm just gonna have to teach you guys how to set this all up later on down the road. But eventually when this releases, and it's 1.0 release, which there's not even a release number here, I just say this is like 0.2 or something, because I made quite a bit of revisions in here. The 0.25 it's not there at the 1.0 yet. Because with 1.0 I'll need all these models out, I'll need to organize everything into a kit bash, I'll need to add a few more things inside here before you end up eventually ending off the level. So yeah, next up we go through rotation here. I eventually had a rounding function, which no, I had a rotating function which was supposed to rotate the array, but I ended up removing it because of a new method built into Blender already that's already here. It's not in code, you don't have to code it, you just have to assign it through the viewport using a few shortcuts. And I'll talk about that as well as setting up position and everything. I don't think I need to change this anymore either. I don't think I do, so I can probably just change this back, which shouldn't break. But yeah, last step is position. And I've only coded it to work with objects that don't need any more than it already needs. So now let's select everything, and I'm going to, wait, what? Oh yeah, ID is not found. That is because you are missing an ID. You're just prop. We made you an integer, but we just forgot to set your name. So we'll select everything. You can select it all in here, not preferred, because you'll end up compiling the level and scene collection as an object. So just everything in the scene here. It compiled, it ran a script down here, and then now if we go through here where I saved it at, I'll eventually write a comment so you can put in your own path where you want to save it out. But right now, as you can see, we made it. You can put this in here. Oh, Y is up. I remember. Yeah, so I have to move that. Either way, I have to move it. So Z and Y. Yeah, I forgot about that. Don't mind this here. It's gonna look a bit different. Oh, it looks exactly the same. Okay, let's move you. Okay, let's add a few more. I'm just gonna duplicate you a few times. We'll move you this way. We'll move one. Oh, duplicate again. We'll move one that way. We're gonna rotate this 90. Oh, wait, no, 90 on this 8. We are gonna call this a 2x3, which does exist in the game, if I remember correctly. Believe so. If not, I can always just reference this. Bridge underscore 2x3. Oh, you don't exist. 3x3? I think a 3x. Wait, what am I? Bridge. Bridge. Yeah, 3x3 exists. Okay. Oh, but it's a bend only. Okay, then we'll go with the 2x4, which this means that you have to be scaled by 2 more. This is just for peace of mind. Again, I'll have models later on down these devlogs down the line, but right now it's gonna stick to cubes. Primitive shapes, you know? And you have an idea as well. Oh, that's gonna be difficult. So we already made an ID here. I'm just gonna scrap this, and we're instead gonna have num by how many are selected. So 0, 1, 2. Well, actually, this would be 0. This would still be 0. This would still be 0. When we select more than 1, we hit 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This becomes 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it all just depends on how it's selected. But I just hit A so it selects all of them in one. I'm going to tidy this up by deleting the IDs, so I don't need them anymore. I'm going to select this all, and I'm going to compile it. Then we're going to go back to here, and we now have our 2x4, so it's 2x2s, and they all go in ID order. We can play this level. And everything checks out from Blender. The way I sized everything. Yeah, so 2x4. And yeah, that's about it for this devlog here. However, if you do want to support me, this is actually gonna go up from my Patreon for the first thing forever. Although I'll probably, no, this one will go on YouTube and it will also go on Patreon, but from here further on, everything's going on Patreon. So if you want to support me, I will add my Patreon down in the link in the description of this video, which is fun to get through and decode all this. Oh, right. So before I ever say my outro, I want to show you how I ended up getting to where I am now with rotations and everything. So I want to make a new cube to start this off with. And I think I'll make it, I'll name it 3x3. Yeah, I'll name it 3x3. So yeah, it has to do with applying here. And we will look here, we'll have a cube here. Raise it up a bit, but right now I'm gonna name it 3x3 because I can. Bridge underscore 3x3. I'll put this up in the air here, and I'll move it back. I might move it. Yes, I'm gonna move it here. I'm gonna show you what happens when we compile everything all together. So yeah, we now have a 3x3. Oh crap. Eventually the game crashes from time to time. I should probably also check to see if this exists. No, it doesn't. Okay, well that was my fault. But we won't have any more bridges. Or at least normal bridges. We'll test this with the bridge end instead. Yeah, sometimes the game just crashes because I named something wrong, or I was stuck in the main menu forever and it just couldn't load the level. It sometimes can just do that. So we have a bridge end over there, and it's actually it's rotated. Yeah, so it's rotated at 0, 0, 0. So all the main axes of rotation are at 1, meaning it's facing that way. We'll just call it west. It's facing that way. I'll exit the level. I'll go back to Blender here, and let's rotate this on the Z 90 degrees. And then we'll compile everything. Oh, what is this? It flipped now. So why do you think this flipped? Well, that's because this game was made in some other software. No, it wasn't made in Unreal or Godot or Unity. I don't know what it was made in. But this game has its own engine, and the engine's axis of rotation for this game here dictates that Y is up, and you will see that here. I rotate on the Y-axis by 90 degrees. See how it's tilting the other way? Like it's tilting, think of it like a hot dog on a skewer. It's tilting the way the skewer's getting rotated. So like, I don't know how to explain it. But tilting this, we tilted it this way, right? But in game, you're gonna see it tilt this way. And that's because the Z-axis here, the up and down, in the game, it's actually Y. So think of it like Z here in Blender is green, or no, think of the Z as it's still blue, but in game, think of it as it's now green. Like Y, it's now green. And it's now in the same position as the Z-axis is for its rotation. And vice versa for Z, Z would be green. No, Z would be blue, and then it's also rotated this way. I don't know if I got that through across. I hope I did, but I will show you that again, we just rotated on the Y this way, but in game it's going to rotate on the imaginary Z-axis for us in Blender. I think I rotated everything perfectly. Let's play the level now. And you'll see that it's now rotated 90 degrees, going like north, the way we're facing. I hope that's north. Now, how I was able to fix this problem was through a little thing called applying rotation. I'm not going to tell you how I applied the rotation just yet, because I want to give it some suspense. But let's say that we rotate this 90 degrees on the Z, right? On the Z. Remember, we rotate this way in Blender, which rotates this way in game. So we rotate 90 degrees on the Z, so now the object is now flipped on its side. The top of the object is now facing here. Now we want to flip this on the Y, 45. So you see how now the top of the... I want to say the top of the object is over here. Let's just say that for convenience sake. Even though in game it actually rotates this way. So let's say the top of the object is here now. We rotate 90 degrees on the Y, and you can see how the top is now going to the top of here now. And now what we want to do is just select this object here. We want to hit apply. And out of all these options here, we actually want to apply rotation to deltas. we can actually end up applying all scales to deltas, but I never selected that option, so frankly I don't want to. I know that this will fix our little problem down here, and we can just name this now Y and Z, and it will all just be fine and dandy. But right now, focusing on rotations, that's been the bane of my existence for like most of this project's lifetime, which was in development for about 2 days now, 3 days now. So now that we've applied it, so the top half of the object is this part here, this face here. So you know better, it's this face now. So yeah, that's the top half of the object that we're looking at now. And if we look in game, which fine, I'll show you just so you know. If we look in game now, we can see that it looks like that. Why does it look like that? I have no clue why it looks like that. But if we end up applying rotation to deltas here, this zeroes out all to zeros. So these are all 0, 0, 0, etc. Oh, that's because I never recompiled. I never sent it back over, but that's fine. You get the idea. We essentially just rotated the object vertically to the way it was originally. Because it was originally facing that way. We rotated it 2 times on the Z and on the Y, both in 90 degrees, and it ended up back the same way. Oh, I also went around like all over the place. I made an account because this guy made a pretty good question. He formed a pretty good question. And same for this guy over here, which I'm not going to assign it. I'm not going to log in to respond, sadly. I just don't want to. But here, he told me that Z should be Y, and Y should be X, and X should be Z. Now for our sakes in Blender, X can stay X. It's not going to change. I'm not going to change it. Our main issue for me was just Z and Y being flipped in Blender. So I flipped those around by rotating those both on 90. And then I applied their rotation to deltas, so this all zeroed out. So now Blender believes that this is 0, 0, 0 for X, Y, and Z respectively. Now this has been it. This has been me. This has been you, Learn Great here, and I'm actually working on a project now.